it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a good old-fashioned book haul. I have so very many books to talk about today. It's a little embarrassing. I am a book collector and I am kind of always buying like a few books here and there, but I have not done an actual book haul on this channel since March, I think, which was when I did my birthday book haul where I got a lot of books. So some of these books I have been waiting to haul since March. This video is probably going to be a long one. You should get yourself something to drink, and I'm just gonna dive in so that we can get through this. These books are not in any particular order. They're just how they randomly got stacked when I moved them into my office. So the first book up is The Shadows of Ren by Jen Blyton. I'm actually not sure how to say the last name, and I'm just realizing right now that this is my first time saying it out loud. This is a fantasy novel that follows a young girl. Well, she's 19. She's a mage, and she basically has to team up with a necromancer to kind of save the country type of deal. The synopsis of this is kind of vague, which I am 99% sure is intentional. I don't really know much about this book other than what is in the synopsis, which is close to nothing. That is okay with me. I am not positive, but I believe that this is a new adult fantasy. It could be YA, but I think it's new adult. And I'm like 99% sure that it is going to have a very romance-heavy subplot to it. This book is self-published, and I got it because of the author. She is a streamer that I have watched for years, like before I ever even started streaming or anything like that. And so I just wanted to support her, and I love fantasy, and we're gonna give this a go. I've actually seen some reels on Instagram that are giving this book like really, really glowing reviews, so I'm excited. We'll see how I feel about it. Okay, next up I have 2 copies of Shady Hollow by Juno Black. I am going to visit my sister next month, and we will be reading this book together. I'm very excited. It's super short. This is an adult cozy mystery novel, and it is pitched as like Beatrix Potter meets Agatha Christie meets Gilmore Girls, and I'm like, okay, sign me up. Like I said, it is a cozy mystery, and you follow this fox on the cover who is a reporter, and she's trying to solve the murder of a grumpy toad. Yes, all of the characters in this book are animals. I think it's going to be so whimsical and silly, fun, and you know what? That's all I want. It's going to be a really, really good time. I should have a vlog coming like either at the end of October or early November of my trip to see my sister and my brother and my family. So you can look forward to us reading this book then. The next book should be no surprise to anybody because I love vampires, so I did pick up Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This follows a vampire who is a realtor, and she's trying to sell a house, but the house is haunted by a ghost, and the ghost won't leave the house until they solve his murder. That's all I know. I can't wait to read this. I am hoping to do like a 24-hour reading vampires again this year in October. So I really, really want to get to this then. But like, honestly, I don't know if this is going to be like scary vampires. I get the feeling that this is just going to be like really, really silly vampires, and I don't know. The vibes of this book definitely does seem like it could be really, really humorous. I have intentionally been avoiding reviews of this because I know a lot of Olivia Blake's books are like very polarizing. People or love or hate it, so I don't want to know anything else going into this. I'm going to try my best to pick this up soon, but can't wait. I love a vampire story. I'm so sorry about these next two books because I'm going to be perfectly honest. I bought both of these books for Chloe Bunny's Patreon book club because I do sometimes like to participate in that. It really just depends on like what the book is and like how busy I am that month. But I bought the book for this month, September. Is September almost over? Somehow, yes. Have I started it? No. But that is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This is the first novel in the Hell's Library trilogy. I don't really know much about this, but I believe, I'm sure someone in the comments can tell me if I'm wrong. I believe this follows a librarian in literally Hell's Library, and I think Hell's Library is where books that like never get finished being written, like books that are just like existing as like half-finished manuscripts or like in authors' heads. When the author dies, like the books somehow go to like Hell's Library, and that's all I know. This is a series that like I've had my eye on for a while, and to my knowledge, it is completely finished. Every month in Chloe Bunny's Patreon, we get to vote for what we want to read, and when this got picked, I just got really excited and I bought it, and I desperately need to read this before the month is over so that I can like actually participate in everything. So wish me luck, because I don't know if it's gonna happen. I also decided that I wanted to participate in the Patreon book club for October, so I picked up Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. This is going to be a really short synopsis because I straight up don't know anything about this book. I have heard that this is definitely like a Gothics vibe book, and it's fantasy, and that's literally all I know. I kind of decided to participate in October on a whim, and so I have this book. I am gonna read it next month. Maybe I'll take this to Connecticut with me as well. I don't know, we'll see, but I have it. If this isn't your first video, you might have remembered that a couple months ago, also for Chloe Bunny's Patreon, I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I really, really enjoyed that. I gave it 4 stars, so I do have The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King to read. I've actually started it. I'm like 80 pages in. It is a rather long book, but I put it down just because I got like really, really busy and also sick. I'm still not feeling like 100% actually while I'm filming this, but I've been sick for like 2 weeks. Yay, everything is super fun. I'm feeling a lot better. I think I'll be back to 100% in like the next couple of days, but it's been a mess. So unfortunately, I have temporarily put this down, but the first 84 pages, I did really, really enjoy this. This is a fantasy romance book. It is extremely, extremely popular on like TikTok. This is a series that follows the human daughter of the vampire king. Her name is Aurea, and the king has spent her entire life like training her and trying to protect her, but obviously as a human in a vampire world, it is not safe at any point in time, and it is also in this world like very dangerous to try to turn someone into a vampire. Only like about 30% of the people successfully transition. So because the king loves his daughter, he's not willing to risk that. So Aurea joins this like once a century or something like that tournament, and if she wins, she gets to like literally make a wish from the goddess that will become true. And so yeah, that is the plot of the first book. It is, I think, like pretty fast paced, and it does end like not on a cliffhanger, but like with like a significant twist, I would say. So I really can't talk about what's going on in the second book at all. It would be massive spoilers. If you like romance fantasy, if you like vampires, I do recommend this series. It's a really, really fun time, and I think that even though it's definitely not perfect, I think the plot is definitely interesting enough to like really move the story forward and keep you reading. I had a really good time. Next up, I have Full Metal Alchemist. This is volume 1 of the Full Metal edition. This is a manga, and it follows two brothers who are alchemists, and something happens in the beginning of the series. I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish, but like one of them ends up losing an arm, and then the other one like loses his entire body, and then his soul gets like attached to a suit of armor. That's all I know about it, like all I know about it. And this is a book that will be for my BookTube Knockout series. You can feel free to try to guess who you think I am reading this for, because it is like very integral to their brand. They have recommended this series so many times, and it is one that I really, really want to get into. I'm very excited to read this, especially because I have finally finished my Fruits Basket reread, so I'm definitely looking forward to trying new manga, and this is like also a beautiful, beautiful edition of this series. So I really hope that I love this so that I can collect all of these editions, because they're all stunning. The next book is one that Jake found for me, and he suggested I get it because it kind of reminded him of Stranger Things, and I agreed, and it was also on sale. Sometimes Barnes & Noble does this thing where like if you buy a drink or like a baked good from the cafe, you can get a book that they have like a surplus of for only $5, and that is how Jake found The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. This follows like a group of kids. I know like the main character is 12, but I'm not sure how old like the rest of the group is. It is set in the 80s, and it does follow like their little ghost club. So like when you think about like the supernatural type vibes, like the 80s setting, and like you have this like group of young kids, it definitely does give off Stranger Things. I don't know if this is like actually a supernatural fantasy book, or if it's just like these boys who love ghosts and like tell ghost stories to each other. I'm not sure. It's really, really short. I think it's gonna be fun, and I'll probably save this for like a readathon sometime, and I'll let you know what I think. The next book I have, I'm a little bit nervous about. I picked this up when it very first came out. It is Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee, and this is her newest novella. It is pretty short. This book makes me a little bit nervous because I picked this up after I had read Jade City, which is like the first book in the Greenbone saga, and I really loved Jade City. I gave it 4 stars, but I didn't really like the rest of the series as much. I still think it's good. I still am happy that I read it, but I think like the second and third book in the series are just like good. I don't really think there's anything special about them. I know. Please, like, don't come for me. Okay, I'm sorry. They just did not work for me. So I got this right after I finished Jade City, and I was like, oh my gosh, Fonda Lee might be a new favorite author. I can't wait. And so now I'm kind of nervous about this. Thankfully, it is short, so like if I don't like it, it won't take me long to read it, but we'll see. I still really hope that I enjoy this. This follows This girl, I don't remember what her name is, but her mom and like baby sibling were killed by a manticore. And so in order to like hunt down and kill manticores, she joins whatever this organization is called. I'm sorry, I don't remember that either, but like basically they train you and like pair you up with these giant mythological birds called rocks. And so it kind of has like that animal companion thing going on, but in this case the rocks are like not nice. They don't really like bond with their human companions. They just like work together. So working with them is also like very dangerous, and they're hunting down dangerous monsters. It has a lot going for it that I like. So I am hoping that I love this. I'm just a little nervous. So we'll see how it goes. The next book that I have to show you is The Iconic Bunny by Mona Awad. I have never read anything by Mona Awad, and I desperately want to change that. Everyone who reads this book says that it is super weird and kind of like a fever dream, and that is very, very intriguing to me. It is a dark academia novel, and it follows this woman who is in like, I think like a literary program. I'm not sure if she's in like undergrad or grad school, but in one of her classes, there's like this group of women who all like meet and write together, and like they all call each other Bunny, and they're kind of like weird and a little bit culty. And then like the main character gets drawn into that group of women. And I don't know, the way people talk about this book just has me so intrigued. I do hear that it's like a love it or hate it book. I desperately want to love this book. I really do. Everyone cross your fingers for me. We'll see how it goes. Next up, I have another adult horror. I have The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. This I got because it is sort of like vampire adjacent, though I also wonder if it's maybe not so much vampire adjacent as it is zombie adjacent, but to be honest, I don't really care when it comes to like adult horror if something is vampires or zombies. This follows this like family, and the family literally eats books in order to survive and also as a way to like obtain knowledge. But every so often there is somebody born into the family who, instead of wanting to eat books, wants to eat people. And that is who we are following in this book. I am really excited to give this a try. I might put it in like my 24 hours of reading vampire novels. I'm not sure though, because I'm not sure like exactly how vampire-y this is, but I definitely would like to get to this next month. I don't know how that's gonna happen with me traveling, but wish me luck. If you know me, you know that I do really love Brandon Sanderson's books, so I of course picked up the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Now, I have intentionally been avoiding anything I see online about these. This is secret project number 2, and so I really truly know nothing at all about this book. I have not looked up reviews, I haven't looked at ratings, I have not looked up anything, I have not read the synopsis, so I don't know anything about this book beyond what the cover implies. So I really can't give you a synopsis, I'm sorry, but I will say that I think it is going to be one of 2 options. Now, what I think most likely this is, because there is like a gun that looks like it's like a ray gun on the front of this. So one option, I think that this is about a time traveler who gets sent back to medieval England, and people there think that he's a wizard because he has like technology they've never seen before. That is option number 1. And then option number 2 is, I think it is literally a broke wizard trying to survive, trying to like sell his like magical services to make some money, live his life. I don't know if either of those are accurate. We will see when I get around to reading this. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't want to know, okay? I am honestly just hoping that this is like a really silly, goofy time. We'll just find out what this is about when I read it. The next book is also another new release. Well, I mean, it's kind of been out for a few months at this point, but I did pick up The City of Lost Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I have really wanted to try this author for a while now, and I believe he is most known for his sci-fi novels. While I do enjoy sci-fi, it's not like my favorite genre or even like my second favorite, to be honest. Those are definitely like fantasy and then horror. So I definitely wanted to try one of his fantasy novels before I like delve into his massive sci-fi backlist. This is his newest novel, and it follows, I believe, a thief in a city that is like currently under occupation, and the city is like basically on the brink of revolution. And I don't know, that just sounds really interesting. I love books that look at like why people rebel and like how they go about that process of like creating change. I just think that like we as humans are always looking at how we can change the world, sometimes for the better, sometimes like seriously for the worst. And like also the United States is kind of in a state right now where I'm like, bring out the guillotines, bring on the revolution, because something's gotta freaking give out here. Like I'm telling you, we cannot keep operating like this. Like we can't, whatever that, like, listen, we don't have time for that discussion today. Anyways, it's safe to say I am very interested in this book. I do believe it is grim dark, just so like you know going into it. I'm not 100% on that, like you can Google it, but if you don't like grim dark, maybe don't pick up this one, but I'm very excited to give it a chance. Also, I'm not gonna lie, the cover definitely was a factor. It is stunning. The smoke and the fire, and like, what the hell is that? What is that creature? I don't know. It looks like literal devils. We'll see. We're gonna find out. I'm also not sure if this is the first book in a series or not. I don't know. I don't care, to be honest. Surprise, surprise, I have another vampire book. I got The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. I got this A, because it was on sale, and B, because it is a vampire novel. And I believe this one, though, is definitely more like literary leaning. I don't know how supernatural this one is going to get. I have heard that this book is compared a little bit to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, just in that like you're following an immortal just like in their day-to-day, and they're going about their life. So I definitely think that this is going to be more like a vibes literary novel rather than like an action-packed vampire story in the traditional sense. But it was on sale, and I want to give it a try because I love vampires. I also do really love like themes of immortality in book. I think that there's like a lot you can say about what it means to be human when you look at it from like the lens of mortal versus immortality, and what time does to humans and how it warps our perspective on what matters in our life. I do hope that this is a little bit introspective. I hope I like it. I mean, if I hate it, it's not a big deal because it was on sale, but hopefully I like it. So, like everybody else in the book community, when I found out that Book Depository was closing, I did place one last order, and I picked up Elektra by Jennifer Saint and Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. These are both mythological retellings. Elektra is Greek. I'm not sure if Clytemnestra is also Greek. And to be perfectly honest, at one point I knew the synopsises to both of these books, and I don't anymore. The one thing I will say is that Clytemnestra's like tagline is Mother, Monarch, Murderer, Magnificent, and that is like very, very intriguing to me. If I remember correctly, this follows Clytemnestra, who is married off to a king, and then the king somehow like sacrifices their child. I believe then after that she has to decide whether she wants like revenge on the king, which would obviously like villainize and ostracize her from society and potentially result in her death, or if she is going to kind of like let this massive betrayal go in an effort to kind of like seize more power for herself, because, you know, like she is a queen. I actually don't know anything about Clytemnestra from like history or anything like that, so I am going into this like myth retelling knowing nothing, which is kind of fun. Both of these books actually I don't know anything about. Elektra follows Elektra. Literally, I don't know anything. Nothing. I know nothing about Elektra's myth. I don't even know who she is. Don't know. But it will be interesting because all of the other Greek retellings I've read, I did already know like the original myth. So it did kind of inform me for like how the story was going to proceed. So it'll be interesting to see if I like these more or less than I enjoyed some of the other retellings. I am also a little bit hesitant about Elektra because I bought this before I read Ariadne, and Ariadne was a book that I thought was going to be 5 stars and ended up only being 3, which like is still good, but it was a massive disappointment to me personally because I had those high expectations. And it does seem that everyone's in agreement that like Elektra is not as strong as Ariadne, so we'll see. I'm hesitant. There's a chance you'll see this in an unhaul in the future, but I don't know. Cross your fingers. Maybe I'll be in the minority and I'll like actually love it. After I placed that Book Depository order, I got sad because I had been really tempted when I placed that order to get these books as well, but I didn't get them. I was like, listen, Jessica, have some self-control. So I didn't get these books. And then I got really sad because I desperately wanted the UK covers. And then I saw that they actually were still available on Amazon, but Amazon was like, low stock, only 4 left. And listen, logically and rationally, I don't actually think that they were low stock. Like, I'm pretty sure after like they ran out of stock, they just restocked them. But the anxiety brain won that day, and so I saw like the low stock and I bought them immediately. And that is Her Majesty's Royal Coven and The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. All I know about these books is that they are set in England and they are about a coven of witches, and I mean, I'm led to believe that they work for the royal family based off of this. I know that like the story has a lot to do with politics and like corruption in the government. Both of those are themes that I love. And they're fantasy about witches and they're beautiful. And I have zero regrets that I bought them. If you've watched my recent vlogs, you also know that somehow I picked up a copy of East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is a very chunky classic. John Steinbeck is considered to be like a really great American author, and I've only read one of his novels. I did read Of Mice and Men when I was in high school. That is an extremely common book to read if you are going to an American high school. And I do remember that I liked Of Mice and Men, but I mean, I would need to reread it to like form an actual coherent opinion about the book at this point, now that I have like a fully developed adult brain. But I don't know what to tell you. I just really want to read classics. I think that I'm going to make it a goal for 2024 to read classics. And also there's kind of been like a little bit of kismet going on in like the book community, because I saw multiple people were reading East of Eden, and then I saw also like Kayla just read it in like one of her most recent videos too, which like she put up after I got this, and I was like, I don't know what is going on in the book universe and like why East of Eden is suddenly having this like weird mini resurgence, but I'm about it and I saw it and now I have it. Do I know what it's about? Not really, to be perfectly honest. I know it follows like two families, and I believe it is like intergenerational, and it's just about like the cycles of history and how they repeat themselves. Based off of the title, I'm pretty sure it's gonna have a lot of biblical allegories in it. I don't know, but people seem to really like this. I want to read classics. Yeah, here we go. Next up, I picked up Griffin in Light. This is Mercedes Lackey's newest release. It is also with Larry Dixon. Now, I intentionally have not read the synopsis of this. Mercedes Lackey and Larry Dixon wrote an original trilogy in like either the late 80s or early 90s, which was like the Black Griffin, the White Griffin, and the Silver Griffin. And I remember reading that trilogy when I was like a child, and for the life of me, I cannot remember a single thing about that trilogy. Like, not one goddamn thing about it. So I got this, but I purposely have not read the synopsis because I want to reread that original trilogy, and like I'm guessing based off of the fact that this is co-authored and based off of the name that this is like related to that original trilogy, and like I'm not sure where in the Valdemar timeline this book is set, but I'm too afraid to like look up any information because I don't want to re-spoil myself for that series, even though technically I've already read it, just because like I don't remember anything about it. So yeah, sorry, I have this book, can't tell you anything about it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a bad content creator. That's just how it is. I also picked up Aaron Craig's newest release. This is House of Roots and Ruin. This is the sequel to the House of Salt and Sorrow, which I don't think any of us knew we were getting a sequel until late last year, but I'm so excited about this. I loved House of Salt and Sorrow, which was like a retelling of the 12 princesses, but make it ultra creepy, mildly gothic, and like one of the most atmospheric books I've ever read. And I highly, highly recommend that book. It's great, especially for this time of year. Obviously, this book is a sequel, so I don't really want to tell you too much about what's going on in here, but basically, after the first book, most of the sisters left like their family home, and in this one, you are following, I think, the youngest sister, but I could be wrong about that, and she is an artist, and she is hired by a family, and I think she also ends up like leaving the house and like going to their house and painting for them. And I'm not really sure what happens, but I think like she has the ability to see ghosts. So yeah, honestly, all I'm hoping is that this is atmospheric as hell and like mildly creepy. And if I get that, I'm a happy camper. Next up, I have 3 books from Book of the Month. I recently read Stacey Willingham's newest novel. I forget what it's called. Editing Jessica will put a picture on the screen so that you know. But after I read that and loved it, I was obsessed, gave it 5 stars, I decided to pick up A Flicker in the Dark, which is Stacey Willingham's debut novel. This is an adult thriller and it follows Chloe, whose father was convicted of like kidnapping and murdering girls. I don't remember how many. He went to prison, but now in the present day, Chloe is a psychologist and girls are starting to disappear in the same way that they were when her father was convicted. So now the question is this a copycat? What is happening? Like, what's her father wrongly convicted? And we're gonna try to find out what's going on. I also picked up Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This will be my first Chloe Gong novel. I'm very excited. She is a very well-loved author, and this is a Cleopatra and Antony retelling, which is a Shakespeare novel, and this is basically like kind of a Hunger Games type of competition where everyone's trying to kill each other, but the twist is that people can like body hop and put their consciousness in other bodies, and like there aren't really any rules, and I don't know, it just sounds really, really interesting. It seems like it's going to be very unique. I don't think I've ever read like a body hopping story. I mean, obviously I know they exist, but I've never personally read any, so I think this is going to be a really, really fun time. I'm very much looking forward to it. And then the last book of the month book, no one is surprised. This is Isabel Canes' sophomore novel, her newest release. It is Vampires of El Norte, and I cannot wait. This is set on the Mexico-Texas border, and you follow a woman? I don't remember. Oh, Nina. And basically, years ago, she was attacked with like her boyfriend, lover, I'm not entirely sure, and he thought she was dead. They were attacked by monsters. So he left her, cut and run because he thought she was dead. She survived, obviously. But now it's like years later, and I believe there is something about the Mexican Revolution. I'm not entirely sure. I know like there's conflict. Oh, it's when the United States invades Mexico in 1846. Okay, I'm not super familiar with that era of US history. I should probably read about that. But that's like one of like the bigger conflicts of the book. But then Nina also runs into like her ex who left her for dead, and she's not too happy about that. And oh yeah, the monsters are back. I wonder what those monsters could be. Who could ever guess? I don't know. We'll just have to read to find out, I guess. I'm so excited for this. I loved The Hacienda last year by Isabel Canes. Like, I loved it. I love it. I still think about that book. It's phenomenal. Like gothic perfection. It's so good. And this is also going to be gothic. I can't wait. I cannot wait. We have finally reached the last book of this book haul, which honestly was a little bit of a treat yourself book for me personally. I got this as an Amazon like Prime Day deal because it was so significantly discounted. I almost couldn't believe it. And that is The Lord of the Rings, this illustrated like collector's beautiful edition. I can confidently say that like I will never read this edition of it, but if you haven't been here for very long, you might not know I finally finished The Lord of the Rings for the very first time this year, and it instantly became a new all-time favorite. And I say this every time I talk about this series, but I quite literally had an existential crisis when I finished The Lord of the Rings. And honestly, I finished it and I wanted to like immediately reread the entire series. Like, I just love it so much. And this is normally like $80, but for the Prime Day deal, it was $25. And I was like, add to cart, send it to me now. Like, I'm so happy. It also says like illustrated by author. I don't know if you can read that. So it makes me think that some of the illustrations in here are ones that like Tolkien actually did like while he was writing the book, which I find so exciting. I actually haven't taken the time to like look through the book. I'm kind of like afraid to open it. I like don't want to like damage anything. It's so beautiful. I'm so happy. This is like definitely a book that I got for collection purposes. Like I said, I'm gonna like look at the illustrations, but this is not like a book that I will be sitting down and holding and reading. This is just a book to look pretty because it is one of my favorite books / series that I've ever read in my life, and I am now obsessed with this forever. So I'm so happy to have this. Okay, there you go. Those are the books that I have accumulated since March. There's a lot of them. I'm so sorry this video is so long. Thank you so much if you're still here for sticking it out through this whole video. Thank you so much for spending time here with me today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and I hope that you stay safe this week. If you are doing anything or planning anything for the spooky holidays, please be careful and safe and mindful, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!